Ah, the Nashville shooter. Remember that? Refresh. Audrey Hale, a woman clearly suffering from mental illness, thought she was a dude, went to a Christian school, shot up the place, killed 6, including 3 children. Well, supposedly manifestos were found, journals, cell phones. And then the story went dark. Memory hold, if you will.
What the fuck?
8 months. 8 months, manifestos been found. Pages been leaked. Discovered by whom? Steven Crowder. Bet you didn't see that coming. I'm Jazz Borganzo, and this is What's Next. Hey, what's up, everyone? Jazz Borganzo, What's Next? Your daily dose. Hope you guys are feeling good today on this Tuesday. Well, if you have been paying attention in the last 24 hours, this is a major story. Now, for those of you who have goldfish memory, probably not. Let me pick your brain a little bit. March 27th, 2023. What story of significance happened all that day? There might have been a birthday. Might have been an anniversary. There might have been a passing in the family. But when it came to national news, there was this. The Nashville shooter. Remember that? Yeah. Woman Audrey Hale, who thought she was a dude, clearly suffering from mental illness, went to the former Covenant school which she attended, shot up the place, killing 6, including 3 children. Just hours afterwards, the police chief came out and said, here are the issues that maybe have caused this. Well, turned out she had manifestos, laptops, cell phones, journals, if you will. And then suddenly the story went dark. It got memory hold, if you will. Kind of like Vegas. No, like Vegas. Hope you guys are enjoying your day. The Nashville shooter. Remember her? Audrey Hale, you know, that wonderful woman who thought she was a dude, went to the school, shot up the place, killed 6 people, including 3 of them children. Well, turned out she had manifestos, cell phones, laptops, other materials. The public has never seen them. You and I have never seen them. Well, not only has the Nashville police prevented us from seeing these things being released to the public, but now it turns out that a court order is out there to block it by the school itself, and they're being sued for it. Here we go. This comes out of the Post-Millennial. Breaking. Covenant School files motion to block release of trans shooter Audrey Hale's manifesto. The school argues that the release of this information could potentially endanger the security and safety of the school, its staff, and its students. Where have we heard that before? And of course, there is the transmental one herself. The Covenant School, the Nashville Christian Academy that was the site of a brutal mass shooting by a trans killer that killed 3 children and 3 adults, has filed a court motion seeking to intervene in lawsuits demanding the public release of Audrey Hale's manifesto. The NPA, the National Police Association, and the Tennessee Firearms Association, the TFA, have separately filed suits against the city with the objective of having the manifesto released, as it should be. Months have passed. 8 months have passed. Well, now there's a break. Pages of the manifesto have been leaked, have been discovered. By whom? Steven Crowder. Yes, that same Steven Crowder who used to work for The Blaze. Of course, you may know him as a comedian, a jokester, but it turns out that they do some serious journalism there. And here we go. This comes from Rumble. This is Steven Crowder's page, official page, and he talks about exclusively what happened and how he was able to get his hands on this documentation.
Because in 15 minutes, here we go, let's set it. In 15 minutes exactly, I am going to read
and I will play the full extent of the 15 minutes.
Will not be available here on YouTube if you're watching.
So this video will go on longer than my videos normally do.
With it, I guess, before we get to that, we should probably provide some context as to how we got here.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's rewind. The Nashville shooting, for those who forgot, it was March 27th, 2023. It was a radical lunatic, Audrey Hale, who then, I believe, was kind of turning into Aiden. That's why there was some misreporting. Decided to break into, infiltrate, whatever term you want to use, Covenant School, Nashville, Tennessee, and proceeded to murder in cold blood 3 children, 3 staff members. Here's a refresher.
The shooter, who the police identified as Audrey E. Hale, saying that the individual identifies as transgender, entered the building by firing through a side door.
And I'm
that
going
you see.
to
The shooter
save
walks in,
my
hits the
comments
glass,
for my thoughts. So there'll be limited interruption on my part.
armed with 2 assault-style weapons and a handgun. That's according to John Drake. He's the Nashville Police Department chief there.
Now, let me be clear here. It's always a tragedy when people are killed, especially when the children here were shot were 9 years old. If you don't remember, they immediately tried to transition to gun control before the bodies.
Yep.
Had even assumed room temperature, which happens
Facts.
all the time. And then the shooting kind of went away, sort of like Vegas, once we found out a little bit more about the shooter. So before we get to the manifesto, which provides you most of what you need to know, here's what we know, or what you likely know already. The shooter was Audrey Hale, then becoming Aiden, female to male transgender individual. Didn't always identify as Aiden, was kind of going back and forth.
Yeah.
Lived at their parents' home, her parents' home. Was a former student at Covenant School, a Christian school. Was being treated for a mental disorder at that point in time. Hale direct messaged her former basketball teammate from the parking lot before the attack, the parking lot of the school. And we showed this back then.
Yeah.
It said, "I'm planning to die today. This is not a joke. I don't want to live. I'm not trying to upset you or get attention."
Funny how this got
I
all
just
blown
need to
off
die.
away as
One
well.
day this will make
Guarantee
more sense.
no
I've
legacy
left
media
more than enough evidence
reported
behind
what
something
Stephen
bad is about
reported
to happen.
back then
Signed,
regarding
Audrey,
the tweets.
Aiden. That very same day,
Oh, I'm sorry,
hours after the attack, the Nashville
texting.
police chief, John Drake, said this regarding the shooter's motives.
And no motive at this point? Anything discovered in the apartment or house?
No, we have a manifesto. We have some writings that we're going over that pertain to this day, the actual incident. We have a map drawn out of how this was all going to take place. There's right now a theory of that we may be able to talk about later, but it's not confirmed. And so
theory.
We'll put that out as soon
Interesting.
as we can.
So that's 7 months ago.
Yeah.
They've had access. Many people have had access.
Yeah.
There's a theory to what was left behind. At least 20 journals. Okay, there was a suicide note, a memoir. It has been 7 months. Why has it never seen the light of day? Especially if this is a situation where the motive is pretty clear, as you'll see from the manifesto. And again, we're 11 minutes away from reading it in its entirety. Use the hashtag Nashville Manifesto, Mug Club Undercover, and blast it out everywhere because we don't know how long this will be up.
Right. And by the way, I mean, that day, he's not indicating that there's an ongoing investigation to find out what happened. He's not saying we're trying to piece this thing together and gather information. He's saying, hey, we have truckloads of data right now, and we have a pretty good theory as to why this happened, and we'll let you guys
But he
know
also
later.
said
And
we don't know the motive.
Right. He said he didn't know the motive. I understand he's maybe trying to guard it and say before we release it, because if he says, hey, we know the motive, the next question is, well, why won't you tell us?
Yeah, but you're talking about now a condition when it comes to transgender where you're not allowed to equate mental health with
Right.
gender dysphoria. And even when a
Which
kid
it
comes in,
clearly
there's plenty of
is.
evidence in St.
Gender
Louis Children's
dysphoria
Hospital
is
when
a
child
mental
would come in.
illness. It has been defined
Obviously
such as that,
exhibiting
as a
insane
DS5.
behavior. That could be bestiality, all kinds of strange things. You weren't allowed to correlate that with what was going on with their gender
Well,
dysphoria.
in this case, we weren't even allowed to cover it, by the way, on YouTube, which is why we have Mug Club. We decided to
Make sure we dump
completely
that.
divest from
Oh, an
YouTube.
update, by the way,
What
YouTube
Ryan
has
said, but
struck
he's right. But in today's case,
the video
we're just saying
or
insanity
contents
because
of the
this
video.
person's
So
writings are insane.
he called it,
So the
and it was no
truth-
surprise.
we have
No,
it
no,
straight
no,
from the
no,
horse's mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the Nashville PD also claimed that they were delaying the release until they finished their investigation, which may take up to a year. What are they investigating? The director of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation said twice publicly that there was no ongoing investigation. So this is very inconsistent. Then we look at federal pressure. In other words, these are all the reasons.
Yes, contradictions.
that
I love
you
it.
really should have had this. I understand that many of you don't want this. You don't want copycats, but we have them from other shootings.
Yeah.
We have them from Christchurch. We have when it's white supremacy. The difference is white supremacy isn't taught in schools. Big part of the inspiration here with this shooting is taught as a matter of curriculum. Let's go to some of the pressure that's been applied here federally. You have the U.S. Attorney Alexander W. Resser said, because of these ongoing investigations, the FBI determined that disclosure of the requested documents could reasonably be expected to interfere with enforcement proceedings and withheld all responsive records under the Freedom of Information Act. There are a bunch of people who don't want this manifesto being released.
And that's very interesting. The Freedom of Information Act.
Some of the parents involved,
Normally, you would have
not all
like
of
Judicial
them,
Watch
saying that
would
they're
file
uncharted
something like
waters.
that.
This is
And I'm
not
kind of
something that should
surprised
be
that
released. There's a
there
bunch
are
of- I don't think we need to
those
list
like
this out.
him and others
But you better
who
have
didn't
one
file
heck of a
to
good
get this
reason
exposed.
for saying that we think that this would interfere with the enforcement. There is no investigation.
There's no
You're
investigation.
trying to get to maybe the bottom. Did they have somebody helping them with some other? But you better have a good explanation. And I hope that people are not so distracted that when this explanation comes out and it's not good, because based on what we've seen, there is no explanation for why you would delay putting this stuff out there other than one, and we called it, and we'll get to that in a minute.
I have a really
You better
strong guess.
hold their feet to the fire.
The reason they want to hold us back, keep in mind that at this point in time, the "Don't Say Gay" was being sort of espoused everywhere. Everyone was saying, "Oh, the "Don't Say Gay" bill," and "Oh, they're trying to put pressure on teachers." When you see this manifesto, you will see inspiration directly from what is taught in our schools as part of the curriculum from the progressive left. People would read this manifesto and have to ask themselves, a lot of people don't know. A lot of boomers wait, what's white privilege? Why is this person so mad about it? Every school we know is teaching young children that there are. That's why. It would raise some questions that affect everybody, not someone in a neo-Nazi gang trying to emulate Ed Furlong in American History X. Let me go to April 28th, 2023, because we have 7 minutes here on this timer, and when that happens, we are going to be reading the manifesto in its entirety. The National Police Association filed a suit themselves to obtain the manifesto, and also, I believe, the Nashville Police Department's communications.
Yeah.
Now, they speculated that the Nashville Police Department was hiding material due to, and they cited this. This is in the actual suit, the filing, political pressure. Let me read this for you. It says, the FOIA also requested all records, including emails, texts, and other communications to and from the MNPD mentioning or regarding the writings of Audrey Hale recovered by the MNPD, because it is possible.
And that is something that I reported on, and that was from the Post-Millennial that I did that back, give or take about 5 months ago.
Secret. So to protect what? The trans narrative, for which we were removed, saying this person is doing it in the name of transgenderism, which, by the way, is idolatry. You've just turned yourself into an idol at that point. To protect people pushing the narrative of gun control, to protect the media who, and by the way, this administration, who has told you that the greatest threat this nation faces is white supremacy. Well, you know what an antonym is? Closest thing to the idea of white supremacy would be white privilege, as far as being taught as a philosophy. We have an antonym. We have antonyms in here for all of the narratives that have been out there being pushed. Facts. Let's compare this, by the way. It doesn't exist in a vacuum, and all the references are available. We do this every single show for those who are new and tuning in. You'll see a link in the description, loudwithcreditor.com. You have a bibliography for every single show. Yeah. We have the manifestos for Christchurch within 24 hours.
Boom.
Buffalo within 24 hours.
Boom.
Jacksonville, 24 hours.
Boom.
Now, all of them expressed, and Christchurch might have been trolling, white supremacist themes.
You see the difference there? Within 24 hours, we had that information. Christchurch going after Muslims, a protected group. The other two going after the black community, which is definitely a narrative that they want to go after. And those were definitely hate crimes. If you are going to have a hate crime,
absolutely.
Within 24 hours, they were able to basically publish that within 24 hours. But yet the media had their thumbs up their ass and did nothing. Except white supremacy, of course.
Somebody might copycat.
And that also tells you,
that excuse.
Black people are Muslims, though. Apparently,
that tells you that they don't believe that that's a safety issue. They understand that such a small percentage of people, not just in the United States, across the globe, the idea of actual white supremacists, that they can release the manifesto because no one's actually going to be inspired to go out and shoot people in the name of white supremacy. What we're going to be seeing today, what we're going to be going through today, the manifesto from this Nashville terrorist shooter, it's not a stretch to say that half of students in public schools could be influenced to think this way. Maybe not go out and carry out shootings, but no one in public schools is being influenced or by the media to go out and become a white supremacist. The idea that you could be influenced by teachers to believe that white people are inherently evil, that white privilege is something that is in need of correction, that's not a stretch. They don't believe that white supremacy. When I say they, who do I mean? The media, entertainment, industrial complex, to be clear.
Boom.
I mean ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, the White House, FBI, DOJ. most of the online content that you see, certainly all of big tech. Have I been clear in identifying them for you? That's why YouTube removes a stream that we have on the program.
Right.
That was more factual than other coverage at that moment in time.
Yeah.
That's why you have police departments who don't want this to be released. That's why you have a White House telling you right now that you need to be on the lookout for white supremacy. These are the same people who said #StopAsianHate till we found out who was committing the anti-Asian hate crimes. It was not white supremacists.
Away.
Yeah.
And that's why when school shootings
Turned out to be
happen,
black people who were committing the
had a
majority
black
of the
person
crimes
on it.
against Asians.
The minute the media found out that
facts,
a black person
but
had done this, gone.
who cares?
The guy that drove into the parade in Waukesha. The minute the media.
It was an SUV.
It was an SUV that did it. No, and just to be clear, really quickly,
Right.
in the Jacksonville case, the manifesto wasn't released, but the police released all of the information, released the contents of the manifesto. So there was no. I don't want anybody to come back and fact check.
They were paraphrasing.
Yeah, Waukesha. Yeah, it turned out to be a black guy
When you have
who was
churches,
mentally
when you have
ill,
everything in
who
culture,
ran
when you
those
have
people over
schools
that
teaching
Christmas,
that white
that
people are
Christmas
in a
week.
position of
So,
power that they
but
did
no,
not
because he
earn,
was the
meaning
wrong
if you're
color,
successful, if you
yeah,
have a small business,
we're not
if
gonna
you've got
report
an
it.
education, if you have a mom and dad, if you have these
Pathetic.
privileges in life and you're white and you didn't earn it, that's not just saying they have something that they didn't earn. It's saying they have something they didn't earn and it's affecting and keeping you down and you need to take it from them. That's the only natural conclusion is that you have to level the playing field. How do you
White
do that?
privilege is something in need of correction.
Right.
How do you correct it? Let me ask you this. Historically, and this would not be wrong, how does an actually oppressed class correct something? Usually through revolution, which usually involves violent means. If you believe that you live in a country in the United States that is the byproduct of white privilege, that you have been colonized, then it needs to be corrected. And that is, I know we're sort of foreshadowing here, that is the reason for the violent correction here. Now, I understand this person is mentally ill. Not saying because they're transgender. This person is clearly mentally ill because they were being treated for mental illness.
Facts.
But they were directly inspired by what we have discussed on this show many times is being taught in school and as a matter of dogma in the media, the entertainment industry. Everyone from Megan Rapinoe to Rashida Tlaib to the TikTok teachers who have your children for 8 hours. We have 2 minutes and we're going to get to this. Have you, let me ask you this. People said, what's the motive? What's going on while they're talking about gun control? One thing. We know this shooter was transgender. We know that this shooter shot up a Christian school. We know that this shooter obviously did not like people who were conservative Christian. Okay. If everyone knew, oh, the manifesto cites white privilege, this person would probably be known as the white privilege shooter. The trans white privilege shooter. They're always looking for coined nicknames. Well, there you go. If you have to distill it, let's distill it. We know why this person did it. Racism by any other name is just as shitty. And my problem isn't just with this shooter,
True.
though of course it is. It's the fact that, are we November 6th?
Yes.
November 6th, 2023? My problem isn't just with the leftist media who would want to bury it. No conservatives out there? With hundreds of millions of dollars? No one did the digging? No one thought this was relevant? We have an unbelievable, they are lean and they are mean. It's a handful of people.
Yeah.
But these are people who've worked at a lot of these other networks. These are people who have said, all right, we want to do what it is that we've always been meant to do and have not been permitted to. And that's why we are able to do this here today. We thank Rumble. We thank you. If you're a member of Mug Club, you can join, use the promo code Undercover. You get $10 off. None of this happens without you. It's not enough to love this country. You have to revile the destruction of it.
Amen.
And pay attention to
Preach.
who doesn't cover it. And I'm not just talking about normal legacy media. Pay attention to who doesn't cover this. This is news. This is something that everybody needs to get out. By the way, you guys are making this one of the top trends on Twitter right now. Keep it going.
Nice.
Because we want people to see this.
So thanks to the incredible work of our undercover unit, you are now about to, we have for you today, exclusively here on Louder with Crowder, courtesy of Mug Club, first look at part of the handwritten manifesto of the Nashville shooter. Okay, if you have children, shouldn't be reading this. And right now, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm about to direct you exclusively to Rumble/Mug Club because they don't want this heat. Manifesto. Dark Abyss, Death Day, March 27th, 2023. Today is the day, yes. The day has finally come. I can't believe it's here. Don't know how I was able to get this far, but here I am. I'm a little nervous, but excited too. Been excited for these past 2 weeks. There were several times I could have been caught, especially back in the summer of 2021. None of that matters now. I'm almost an hour plus 7 minutes away. Can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm ready. I hope my victims aren't. My only fear is if anything goes wrong, I'll do my best to prevent any of the sort.
Wow.
God, let my wrath take over my anxiety. It might be 10 minutes tops. It might be 3 to 7. It's gonna go quick. I hope I have a high death count.
Oh no,
Ready
that
to
was
die. Ha ha. Sign.
that was
Amy.
yeah.
Next page.
That was Satan.
Audrey. Kill those kids. 3 exclamation points. Those crackers. Going to private fancy schools with those fancy khakis and sports backpacks with their
And this was February 3rd,
daddies,
the
Mustangs,
month
and
before.
convertibles. Fuck you little shits. I wish to shoot you weak-ass dicks with your mop yellow hair. Wanna kill all you little crackers again. Bunch of little faggots with your white privileges.
Wow.
Fuck you, faggots. Then we have the schedule. Death Day, 6:30, desired. It's covered by a sticky note, 7 a.m., get dressed, 7:05 to 8:55. It says, with stuffed animals plus possessions, 9 a.m., eat breakfast at home. The home is encircled in a heart shape. 9:30, pack up special belongings and backpack. Test knife core break.
Family had no idea the evil of the demonism
Final videotape
that it was possessed. Yeah, it was possessed by her.
The schedule isn't
That she was
necessarily
possessed by,
something we need to
shall I
go
say.
through in detail, but we will provide it for you. I wanted to read it by itself without adding any editorializing. But what sticks out at you? And I get it. The word cracker, generally speaking, we're not offended as white people. But the motive is here. Crackers is mentioned multiple times. White privilege is mentioned. Reviling people who are going to private fancy schools. A Christian fancy school. Their daddies, their Mustangs, convertibles. It's anger. It's hatred for white people of suburbia. Which would mean, hey, that might be an at-risk group. Not only do we have a motive, what stands out to me is we don't just have a motive, but we have a specific motive targeting. We know who was in danger. We know why they were in danger. White privileges. Crackers. And of course, this is an insane person. No one is saying that this is not someone who is deeply mentally deranged. Now, I can't say that that's the case because they're transgender, but I'm going to tell you that someone who's concerned about their anxiety when they are about to go and shoot 9-year-old children, that's someone who's been raised in a narcissistic society where everything you want to feel is okay and more important than the greater good.
Yeah.
This is the byproduct. This right here is the byproduct, combined with insanity and a perversion of an unhealthy mind, of participation trophies, of no red pen, of you can be whatever it is that you claim to be, no matter how you were born. This is the byproduct of you were misgendered at birth by a doctor, likely white. This is the byproduct of white privilege needs to be checked, and it's time to stand up. And Black Lives Matter and billions of dollars in damages that the media said was mostly peaceful and should continue. This is the byproduct of what our children have been steeped in our public schools and what they absorb through big tech.
My thoughts. This video went on a little bit longer than I wanted it to, only because I wanted to make sure that everything you're getting is in full context. There's no disputing what Crowder has said. Crowder's 1,000% correct. The fact of the matter is that everything came into play. Everything. From bullshit white privilege, to the insanity, the severe mental insanity of this woman, the lies that she has been told, that has been perpetuated on her. The demonism, let's just call it what it is. It is evil. It's just flat out evil. And it doesn't matter that Audrey happened to be suffering from mental illness, that she thought she was a dude. No. Same thing with Parkland, you know. That was a guy who was insane. Oh, well, you know, he was a white guy, so he was insane. Let's just, gun control and white privilege and yada, 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 yada. But he made a good point when it came to those conservatives who didn't think this was important, who kind of blew this off, who kind of pushed it under the rug, who kind of memory hold, if you will. If anybody would have told you this story was breaking, I think a lot of people would have thought, okay, was this Shapiro and Daily Wire crew? Was this The Blaze and Glenn Beck and his crew? You know, would it have been, Fox News, Newsmax, Tucker Carlson? Name the big conservatives. Or hell, let me even throw Joe Rogan at you. Sorry, hit my mic. But yeah, you would have thought any of the above. Steven Crowder? Yeah, Crowder. He just doesn't do comedy. He actually does hard-hitting journalism. He actually has people who go out, dig, like good old-fashioned journalism used to be. Find evidence, investigate, bring back, put the pieces together, and look what you have. He was able to get to some people who know people, regarding the manifest. And a couple pages that were sent to him. Oh, let me not forget, James O'Keefe. Former Project Veritas. You would have thought they would have exposed something like that because they were the same people who exposed the Pfizer nonsense and blew that up, earlier this year. Yeah, of course, that's got memory hold as well. But I give all props to Crowder. He did a hell of a job. He did a hell of a job breaking this thing down and then, of course, exposing this, which the Nashville police and the feds sat on for 8 months and didn't say shit because, of course, it goes against the narrative. But he's right. Crowder's right. Had this been, say, just a white dude who shot up the place, gun control, white supremacy, all the usual buzzwords, all the usual gaslighting would have occurred. But no, happened to be a woman and happened to be suffering from a mental illness called transanity. No, we can't touch that. That's the fourth rail we can't touch. Well, we got peaceful protests going on 2020, have 24 cities being burned down to the ground, cops getting shot, Kyle Rittenhouse. You have all this going on, but it's peaceful protests because it's for the cause. Not to call out Black Lives Matter bullshit because they were the ones, along with Antifa, who caused all the wreckage and all the damage, but still to this day, no one's held accountable. Gee, I wonder why. But again, props to Steven Crowder and his crew. Did a hell of a job with this. And I'm sure, hopefully, that there's more pages that they'll be able to get their hands on and actually release to you and me. And with that being said, I'm Jazz Berganzo. This is What's Next. Want to see more like this? Please leave a comment below. Like it, share it, subscribe to it, hit that notification bell so you guys never miss a thing. And we'll see you next time. Peace.